saying is that the man is a genetic mutation of the woman, so that's why the Y looks like a broken X.
Yep.
So the activation of the X gene. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, the activation of the X gene is actually, talking about, your intrinsic abilities. Because the so-called black woman or the indigenous woman, she's the original being on the planet.
Mm-hmm. I sure.
Somebody had called me. This took me off the screen.
Oh, okay. I see you loud and clear on my end, man. We're good. But yeah, that's definitely a real thing. So I've seen it. I've heard of it, and I've heard people who share with me that that happens in regards to like the women and being pregnant and things of that nature. But when it comes to those eggs, where do they find those 2 million eggs at?
They found them at the Seamount Axle in Oregon. So it's actually in the same area where you have Mount Shasta. It's just water.
Wow. I'm curious as to like what that could be. Like they just appeared out of nowhere. Like how long has it been since they've been discovered?
It's been about they've been talking about it for the past 2 weeks. Yep.
So it's all brand new.
Yeah. So those, like I said, in my opinion, those are Leviathan eggs.
And what is that?
Leviathan is a serpent, or it's
I know about Leviathan, but what are the eggs? So you think that the serpent actually had eggs and like laid them?
I'm thinking is because they don't know where it came from, and they're giant eggs. That's where they found them. You know what I'm saying? They found them at the Seamount Axle, right at the apex of the root chakra of planet Earth.
This is crazy.
And that's also the same area. If that volcano erupts, you're going to have over 10,000 earthquakes that can activate every fault line in America. So that's why I said it corresponds with, those 3 solar eclipses, the solar eclipse from 2017, 23, and 24. So the Ring of Fire solar eclipse was on my birthday on October 14th of 2003. So you also got the Ring of Fire geographical area right where the Seamount Axle and Mount Shasta was at, and the same place where the Black Sun was at. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Wow. So because, like I said, just even when you're looking at, from a spiritual metamorphosis standpoint, when you're talking about the activation of the chakra points, we all know, like I said, your sexual energy is your cosmic fuel. You need that to resurrect yourself. That's how you activate the Kundalini. It starts at the root chakra first. That's why you have a lot of hedonistic activity in Hollywood, because they got to invert the energy. Because if they invert the energy, that means that those people in that geographical location can tap into their power, because they're using the sex in a form of hedonism. They're using it for Canaanite practices and worship. They're not using it for spiritual transmission.
Yeah, they're using it to do dark magic with it. That's what they're doing. And that plays in. Huh?
That's why they do the Hollywood tree. When you're talking about the Hollywood symbol, the wood up there, the Hollywood symbol, they use it for transgressive art. Because Hollywood ability, when it amalgamates with semen, you can actually, alchemize and use it for, dark incantations.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, because Holly, even like the name Holly, like Hollywood, like that's like a tree, like fairies and freaking what are they called? The little fairies that be having the little thing with the little wand and all that. Like
fairy.
That stuff is real. I think people don't realize how real it is, but it's real. Like they be like,
they even showed you in the movie Robin Hood with Robin Williams. Remember, I think it was Robin Hood Hook, when he became Peter Pan.
See, I haven't seen that in a long time. I haven't seen it. I have to go back and watch that. But I know, I do know it's a real thing, though. I know that part.
Yeah, it's talking about Hollow Earth. You got mermaids and everything in Hollow Earth. So everything that they telling us that's fantasy, those are actually fifth dimensional black civilizations. Because Peter Pan was actually black. He was a blackamoor that lived inside Hollow Earth, but he was actually green.
And then you have like the it's a lot like the dwarfs, like that's real. There's just so many things that we see that we really like they putting right in our face, and a lot of people don't realize or don't know that it's real. Like for example, I was just having a conversation the other day about different types of extraterrestrial species, right? And I'm like, there's so many different types of species and variations that it's like we could literally do a podcast every day for the rest of the month and not cover probably every species that's out there because there's so many different ones. So even like the ones who, you know, that are like the praying mantis, for example, right? You have those beings who they're actually humanoid beings that, you know, that are like praying mantis. You have, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many that we can go into the different types of species, but they put the truth in our face, but because they, you know, I think they dumb down so many people and they try to make it out to be like it's just fairy tale or fiction. That we don't. The truth is so hard to believe it's unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because we talk about the Sasquatches. We got into that last time. We talked about how they're real. You know, especially how they travel. You know, through wooded areas and Amazon areas with a lot of vegetation and all that. How they can create kind of like portals and how they can create those cloaks to kind of cloak themselves so people can't see them and all that. And I remember after we did that one, somebody, I don't know if it was on the live or in the comments where they were saying Harry and the Hendersons and how, you know what I mean? Like that's a good correlation as to what, you know, these real Sasquatches are.
Mm-hmm. They're going to start to reveal themselves eventually.
Yeah.
Because this is why I'm going to say that, because the more you have a manipulation in the energy grid, that's going to dematerialize the ley lines, because the ley lines is how they hide, because these ley lines have black holes in them. So it's kind of like the same thing, like when I'm in my house, you got black holes inside your house. So this is why sometimes my keys might end up missing, my phone might end up missing, and it might come back. So the same thing actually takes place when you're talking about these extraterrestrial entities. They hide in dark pockets of the universe that works in tandem with the ley lines. So when you have these neutrinos coming in, that's going to reverse the polarity of the illusion. It's going to reveal the illusion. You're going to start seeing certain entities in physical form because you can't hide it no more. Because the ley line grid system is a fifth dimensional technology. They call it liquid crystal polarization. So to where it basically bends the photon-like spectrum to where it's able to transmutate, you know, physical entities. Entities.
Oh yeah. Now, how does this work? Because I've also had other guests on where we speak about like the different levels of people in regards to where they are spiritually or where they are with their gifts or the ability to tap into their gifts. So you mentioned earlier about ESP and like these extrasensory perceptions. I know some people have an extremely heightened you know, skill or gift, you know, in regards to the extrasensory perceptions. And so for me personally, I've had multiple experiences where I've seen shadow figures, where I've seen spiritual beings, where I've seen a couple times I've seen things in the physical realm that just took place and was like, you know what I'm saying, gone. Like one time I thought I was really tripping. It was like a few years ago. I'll never forget. I was coming out of my garage and I remember it was like a gray cat, and man, this thing went from one side of the garage to the other side as if it literally did kind of like a teleportation, because it didn't run across my goddamn path. I know it didn't run across, but it went from one side and I looked to the other side and it's right there behind some tree. I'm like, yo, I sat there for a minute. I'm like, I know I'm not tripping, bro. Like I ain't on no intoxicants, no nothing. I know I'm not tripping. How the hell did that cat just teleport from one side of the garage to the other side? And then it was nuts, but I've seen things like that with my own eyes, and I've heard other people share with me how they've had experiences as well. So with that, have you actually had any experiences where you've had, you know, anything that's kind of like out of the ordinary where you know it was some sort of like extra dimensional or extraterrestrial type of being or entity that was involved with it?
I haven't really had a lot of experiences or whatever, but I'll tell you one experience I had, which is kind of like the reason why I'm doing the same work right now, being on, you know, videos and stuff and demonstrating information, because it was one point in time in my life that I just had information. I wasn't able to connect the dots. I was just a person, you would ask me something and I'd just give you a surface level information. I didn't have the ability to connect those dots or whatever and dig deeper with the information. So that was like, you know, about 7 years ago. So what happened 7 years ago, you know, I told myself if it's meant for me to understand information intuitively, you know, I give it back to the people, you know, with no type of incentive or no type of anything where I'm going to try to capitalize off the people, you know what I'm saying, with the information and weaponize it. So I meditated on it, and I guess you could call it praying or whatever. And then I promise you, probably about like a few days later, I seen these entities. Like I was in a theta state. My brain was, I was like kind of half asleep, but I was like awake still. and I seen 3 entities in the corner of my room. Because one thing you understand about non-corporeal apparitions, they like to stand in 90-degree angles, right? They like to hide in corners. So it don't matter if it's a good entity or a benevolent entity, or a benevolent or a malevolent entity. But these entities, I seen them. It was 3 of them, and I felt like this energy over my chest. But it wasn't one of those things where I didn't feel castigated. I didn't feel like it was, you know, something that was very intrusive or cynical. It felt like I was at home. So I felt like this warm energy over my chest. And I say from that night, you know what I'm saying? Like after that, I started to come across like information, more like dig deeper with the information. And I was able to absorb, you know, the knowledge, you know, at a higher state, to where I was able to break down surface level information and then tap into, you know, whatever. So I don't know. Some people tell me that I told this story too. They told me it was the 3 magi, or the three elders or whatever. I don't know, but that's the only experience I ever had. So, and it also kind of like put me in alignment, which gave me the propensity to, you know, start go out and doing information and put it on screen or whatever, because I'm not an on camera type of person. Everybody who know me, I'm not the one to be on camera. So I'm being led to do such.
Yeah, I love that answer, man, because I can relate. I've had a lot of them. I mean, a lot, you know, but, you know, so many that, hell, I could just do a show alone on the experiences. And the beautiful thing is I have a couple of craft sightings that I have on video footage I haven't shared yet publicly. But I've had my fair share of experiences and occurrences, whether it be in the dream state, whether it be in the physical state, and in the metaphysical state during a couple of Reiki sessions. I know one of my last Reiki sessions I had, shout out to Millie, my Reiki master, she gave me a session to where I remember astral projecting into what appeared to be like almost like a futuristic boardroom. And at the time when I had this projection, I wasn't able to put 2 and 2 of what I was a part of and what I was witnessing. But the way it went is that there was another being who guided me once I was out there, you know, in my projection. And I remember that being bringing me to, which looked like a meeting of like the galactical guardians or the guardians of the galaxy, right? And I remember it was a huge space and it was very futuristic. It was beautiful. And I just remember like, it was like I was standing in the back with whoever this deity or entity was that escorted me there, and we just chilling. And they just like, they're not saying anything, but everything is being communicated through telepathy. And I'm seeing a round table. It was almost like what would happen, what I would assume like in the government, if Trump had something in the Pentagon, or, you know, saying wherever they had their most outlandish or secretive, top secret meetings or whatever. It came across as something like that, but it was from a galactical standpoint. And the beings there, every single one of them, they look very powerful, very distinguished in a matter of pretty much it's the creme de la creme. There's like nothing above them type thing. It was dope, man. But I say all that to say, in that experience, it didn't resonate with me in that day and time, like what that was, until after the fact. And what she was telling me, it made sense. But then in hindsight, now I'm looking at it as if it was like almost being sitting in on a meeting with the 24 elders, because that's what it came back to after, though, because there's so much that was taking place during the moment. I just didn't have the clarity or the mental wherewithal to kind of put 2 and 2 together. But in hindsight now, after a lot of times passed and I can kind of go back and revisit, that's exactly what it looked like. And what I saw, man, it was phenomenal. It really was. And it's like, yo, this is it. And it amazes me to see how many things have unfolded since then. And then another one that I personally had where I don't really feel like there was a presence that I can identify or quantify or put a finger on. But I remember walking through the slave dungeons in Elmina over in Ghana, on the west coast of, on the Ivory Coast of Ghana. And I'll never forget it, bro. I remember going in there and I had bought some libations to pour out for the ancestors during the tour, but I forgot it in the car. And I remember my godfather was like, yo, don't worry about it, man. Just wait till the tour is over. Then go back and get it. And then you can come in here and do whatever you have to do when it's just you. I was like, you know what? That makes perfect sense. And so I remember I went back, I got the little nip of alcohol, liquor, and I came back. And I just walked through there saying my prayers. But I was dropping libations as I was saying my prayers. And, bro, when I tell you I was praying, like anybody who I've done work with or that I've worked with, they know how I pray hard. But I was praying. Like, I mean, praying. I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you. Like, I'm talking about praying, though. Bruh. And to see now, like, so many different things that's unfolding, you know what I'm saying, in our favor in regards to us having the assistance and the guidance and being led by the ancestors. Can't nobody tell me that there wasn't some strong ripple effects that was created during the prayers, bro. For real, for real.
That shit is real, man. Like, there's a lot of things that happen metaphysically. You know what I'm saying? Certain things happen for a reason. You know, it's not even that you have these experiences. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, the universe is going to tell you who you are and what you're supposed to be doing just based on certain numerical codexes and just by certain individuals that give you information. I remember a lady, I used to work at this place called Berry Plastics when I was a freshman, and I was going into my freshman year of college. And this lady, she came up to me, an old white lady. I'm leaving work, and she stopped me, and she was like, I don't know what it is. You're going to do something very great in this world. You know, I'm 17. I'm like, fuck you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to get off work. Like, what you talking about? Like, I play college basketball. I play Division II. I'm thinking, I'm trying to go to the league. What you talking about? Like, ain't really much I can, resurrect the world as far as like me hooping or whatever. But I didn't really I knew information because I used to watch, Black Magic's channel, you know what I'm saying, since I was in middle school. So I was kind of like, damn, I'm like, what are you talking about? What I'm supposed to be doing? Because like I'm a hooper, you know what I'm saying? That's how I looked at it. Then another experience I had, it was I'm coming out of the gas station, and another lady, she comes up to me, an older lady. This one was she was a melanated woman. She said that you're gonna do. She basically alluded the same thing. You're gonna do something great. And another older lady told me that, and I'm thinking to myself like, that's like 3 different occasions. Like what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So now everything happens full circle. So it's kind of like it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you what happened. Because sometimes I'm telling you, I've had those experiences where random people, I mean, complete random strangers will give me some advice or some insight or some knowledge or drop some jewels on me that are things that I took with me for the rest of my life that I'll never forget. And I'm gonna tell you, like, what I know for a fact is sometimes you'll have an ancestor or a spirit guide or a guardian or Orisha, Netra, whoever. You'll have a form of a heightened, superior deity or intelligence that are kind of incarnate or just like usually literally use someone else as the messenger, you know what I mean, to give you a message, you know what I mean? So it's divine how that happens. And I've had it several times as well. Like, I mean, complete random strangers will tell you some shit like, what? And it might not make sense in the moment, but years later, like, oh, y'all remember when, you know what I mean, so-and-so said this or da-da-da-da. So yeah, that's a real thing, man. I wholeheartedly feel like sometimes spirit, will communicate through other people to get you the information that you need, or at least drop the jewel on you that you need. That might be something that might come across, you're manifesting in your timeline, like years or, whoever knows how long in the future. But it's something that really happens. I feel like that's the creator working through us, doing what the creator do.
Yeah, because, it's also one of those things where some people can see auras or whatever.
Yeah.
You got that green light. They understand that you have that benevolent energy to where you're able to be balanced, to where you're able to make a difference on this planet. Mm-hmm. That's why that's what we call the spirit of Melchizedek. It's the Sufi order of the sons of green light. Mm-hmm. The sons of green light, the ones who got the knowledge, the ones who got that intelligence, the one who got that authenticity, the one that's able to alchemize every situation in life to where they're able to tap into the energy of resilience. Everybody don't have that hero's journey. That's that Sufi order. You know what I'm saying? Those are the ones that's on the chosen path. Right? So like some people can see that in you before they see it in yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said, by way of transmutation of energy, they can use, certain people as, telepathic devices to transmute a different message to you, to tell you, hey, you're doing something. So that was just like 3 times they was sounding like, hey, the ancestors like, hey, bro, you ain't supposed to be hooping. So the last straw was kind of like that same thing with those 3 entities in my room. It was kind of like, all right, now that we pulling up now, bro. Like, you been ignoring the whole time. We're gonna pull up. You asked for the knowledge. Like, let's see what you really about. So that's how I think, you know what I'm saying? So they pull up on me. So yeah,
that's facts. And that happens through divination all the time. Like almost every time I've ever received one or given one, there's always outside, forces that are communicating, deities that are communicating. So it's like, it's a very powerful it's definitely a very powerful energy transfer, that takes place because, and what I love is like, there's been times where I'll never forget the first time. Matter of fact, shout out to my cuz, because he actually inboxed me the other day when he saw the first show we did, man. I'll never forget, and I hope he's watching. If he's not, whenever he sees it, he'll remember this. But I'll never forget the first time I had an ancestor communicate with me to give me a message to someone else, and it blew my mind, bro. I'll never forget it because I was chilling at the dining room table, and I was texting with my cousin, the same one who that inboxed me about the show with you, and I remember texting with her. I don't know what we was texting about. We was texting about something, and then I just recall getting like a telepathic text, like this voice. It wasn't even a voice. It's hard to explain, but it was a message like, "Yo, ask him about the time I beat him in a race." And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? Like, where is this coming from? I'm a little tripping a little bit. Like, what is this about? Where is this coming from? So I'm kind of trying to ignore it. I'm driving by, I'm texting. So then I was like, man, okay. After it happened a couple times, like, all right, let me just. So I sit to tell, like, bro, I said, cuz, I said, do you know, like, I don't know why, but I'm getting this message like about somebody that's saying like they like ask you about the time where they beat you in a race with their black car. Now, mind you, we're texting back and forth, so all the responses were coming kind of quick. So when I sent that text, it was like 4 or 5 minutes before he responded. Right, so he sat there for a minute before he responded. When he responded back, he was like, "Yo," he was like, "Cuz, like, yeah, man." He was like, "I'm here with my homeboy." He was like, "We sit there chopping up." He was like, "Yeah," he was like, "One of my friends passed away recently." And he was like, and the only time he beat me in a race, he had a black Benz. And he was like, yo, he was like, he was talking mad shit about it. Every time we saw each other after that happened, he was like, "How did you know that?" I was like, bruh. I said, "I don't know." I was like, "But your friend said he wanted to let you know that he beat you in that race." I said, "So what I'm getting is, he's on the other side and he's good. Y'all don't worry, you know what I'm saying, stress about it. He's straight." And after I said that to him, I said, "So I'm about to go ahead and call tonight, cuz I'm going to sleep. I'll holler at you."
And that guy passed away?
Yes, it was somebody that he knew, one of his friends, right? And they raced a lot. My cousin be hearing that Fast and Furious stuff. So like that dude died recently. Like I guess within, like a week or so of that message coming to me. But I couldn't like not unhear the message. So it was weird to me, bro. So I was like, I went ahead and said it. And then when he paused and it took him a while to come back, I'm like, well, what the hell happened? But then when he came back, he was like, "Cuz, like, I'm blowed. I can't believe you just said that." He was like, because I guess him and his other homeboy were there and they might even been talking about the dude. But I know for a fact that when I said that, he knew exactly who I was talking about. He knew what car he was driving. He knew all of it. He was like, "Yo, that's nuts, cuz." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "No, I'm taking my nuts ass to sleep because I don't know what this is about, but I'm not getting tangled up in this no more tonight."
There's definitely a metaphysical connection with that when you're talking about the movie Casper. Everybody need to watch the movie, the older one, a long time ago, Casper, the first one. There's a metaphysical message with that. It's basically showing you the spiritual realm on a simplistic level. So it's kind of like one of those things where when you have, fragmented souls and those that was, kind of stuck in the in-between, because we all know that the physical world, we all have an emotional connection to it. So if you have a veneration for it, smoking, drinking, or racing, whatever, it's going to keep you stuck in the in-between, and it's going to make you use other vessels as a host to connect with certain messages or whatever, and to basically fulfill whatever, whatever you was trying to do within the physical world. So that's how they do it. Spirits that are stuck in the in-between work through other individuals who are, at a low vibrational state. So they use them as a catalyst to, have, to basically finish their unfinished business, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's basically the same thing in the movie Casper. He wasn't able to ascend until he completed whatever he was meant to complete.
His mission. Yeah. Yeah. And what do they call it? What is that state called? I can't think of the name of it. When you're in that limbo state, there's another name for it besides limbo, though. Purgatory or purgatory or something like that.
They call it purgatory, or they call it the land of Styx.
Gotcha. Okay.
You're really like you stuck in the in between until you complete whatever mission, because you can still fulfill your purpose in the spiritual realm, but you have to use other vessels. That's the only thing. So instead of, like, let's just say, my mission was to go to the NBA, just like in the movie 6 Man. So he wanted to go to the NBA and be the best, that so bad to the point where he was able to resurrect himself through his brother. You know what I'm saying? that's what spirits do. That's stuck in the in between. They stuck in purgatory. They use other vessels who was vibrating low because, like I said, remember when he lost his brother, he was at a low vibrational state because he was sad. So, like I said, this is why you got to be balanced because that's where entities is able to work through you. So it depends on what frequency you on. So the movie, man, they show you right there. If they got unfinished business, you know, they're gonna work through other hosts and other vessels.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's real. Because I definitely had my fair share of messages from ancestors who's come through mediums. Like, because I know, you know, my grandmother came through a medium to give me some information several times. This happened twice that she came through a medium, but also she even came to one of my sons during surgery. Like when he was in the state of you know, when they, what do you call it? Anesthesia, when he was under the anesthesia. Like she came there with him, was chilling, man. Even brought my dog who, you know, passed away too, you know, with him to chill with him, to let him know everything's gonna be all right, man. It was dope. But I'll never forget when he came out of it, when he shared with his mom that she was there with him. I'm like, yo, you can't tell me that there's no such thing. You know what I'm saying? Not on top of my own personal experiences I've had with ancestors that's come to give messages and come to deliver insight or whatever the case may be. So it's like life for us does not end. It just transforms. We literally just transform out of this body into the next realm, into the next dimension to continue to do whatever work, you know, that we're on the path to do.
And speaking on that, you know, just on a different level, you know, I think certain unfortunate people who are homeless, I think they able to see auras too, because sometimes like you know, a homeless person, they already know. I don't know why they know I'm gonna give them some money if they ask me. So every time they see me, they, you know what I'm saying, I always give them. I don't know, it's just like an energy that they're attracted to, and it makes it. I guess I got like a welcoming energy or whatever. I see that. I don't know.
Yeah, nah, it's funny, brother. Big Chief has spoke about the homeless people. Like homeless people, hell, they might be an extraterrestrial entity, or you know what I'm saying, an ancestor, or an elevated master. Like they just not participating with the matrix. You know what I mean? I remember he broke that down. I can't remember which show it was, but he broke it down as to like some of the homeless people, they could be the most genius or most brilliant people, you know, in the world, but they just got to a phase or a stage in their life where they're like, F it. Like, they don't want to deal with this BS no more. So they're just like, fuck it. I'll just go live on the street so I ain't got to deal with none of this bullshit. And I really believe that because I've encountered some people who, you know, were homeless, but like they were brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. So it's just like, there's a lot I feel like that, you know, that's to that. I think there's more that meets the eye, but what you're saying with that too, for real.
If you want to be 100, you know, homeless people already won the game already because they already broke free from the matrix.
Yeah.
They're not subjected to time. A lot of people are being controlled by way of the time, and time is an illusion. So they already broke free, you know, from a liberation standpoint, mentally and physically. They can do what they want to do. They're living amongst nature on top of that. Yeah. So that means that, you know what I'm saying, they're not using the, you know, the amenities of the three-dimensional world to, you know, have some type of sovereignty on this planet. You know, they're just doing it autonomously to the point where, like I said, we don't need your system. I ain't got to go to work. I'll wake up at 3 p.m. on this concrete. You know, I'm going to do what I want to do. That's what really taking your power back. Taking your power back is being able for you to, you know, control your time to where time is controlling you.
Yeah, they're not conforming to the system. They're not acquiescing to it. They're like, I'm gonna live on my terms, on my you know, by any means necessary, and that is what it is. I know we got a little bit more time left, so before I keep stealing all the questions, man, I did highlight a few different ones that I want to kind of bring up that we can tap into real quick before we have to shut this down. One of them, I can't find it to bring it to the forefront, but I remember one of them asked, and I feel like I got a good idea what your answer is going to be, but I would love to still hear it. One of the brothers or sisters asked, in regards to us as a people, do you feel like Black people are actually in alignment with a rise, you know, and a transformation out of the current state that we're in regards to, I would assume they're talking about like oppression and, you know, being under the system, all those things of that nature.
Yes, but we have to go through a cleansing state because it's going to be a demographic that's going to hold us back. So this is why I was saying, you know, I think the year of 2028 is the year of the sheep and the goat. So no, the year of the sheep and the lamb. No, the year of the goat and the lamb. So that's going to tell you the great separation is going to be amongst, you know, humanity. that's talking about a separation process. It's not actually talking about, animals and things of that nature. They're talking about a difference in a dichotomy between different mindsets on the planet. And that's what's going to happen. The planet has to go through a restoration. It has to go through a supplication process. So it has to reset. So those who are connected to the old system that was under patriarchy, under, the Draconian star constellation, under a patrilineal system, those are the ones that we must separate from, because now we have the Aquarian age, to where you have an intrinsic amount of knowledge that's coming to the planet. That's basically reversing the polarity of everything that was connected to their, deep state forms of democracy and all their policies and all the laws that they passed that, took us out of our sovereign capacity. So you're going to have a split in mindsets. And the split in mindsets is really talking about the great separation amongst, people. So just because they look like us doesn't mean that we must, use them as a galvanization process to, to have these resources amongst each other. So it's one of those things where we got to divorce ourselves from, the so-called blacks who was upholding patriarchy, who was upholding hedonistic activity that's connected to the industry, the music industry, the movie industry, and all these things that's connected to this Luciferian system. So like I said, the inversion of itself is happening, by way of the pole shift. The activation of nature is going to put everything right back in balance. So those who are not working in harmony with that, those are the ones that we got to get away from. Those are your Boule society. Those are the ones that's connected to the secret societies, Freemasons, pastors, preachers. These are all those, people are all connected to the corporation. Anything that's connected to the material world that's galvanized by the moon, those are the energies that we must divorce ourselves from, because we're in the sun cycle. We're not under energy no more. So that means it's the fall of the corporation, the fall of monotheism, the fall of monetary. It's the fall of everything. It's connected to the moon. Day, mind day. It's the fall of the corporation. The fall of patriarchy is moonfall. So
yes,
those who are connected to that energy of the moon, that's what we must separate from.
Facts. Yeah, that's big facts. And then also, and I see a lot. It's going to be hard to keep up with all the comments because there's a lot of them. But also, so now in regards to the nature, so I see they're projecting a lot of hurricanes and a lot of storms that hit the Southeast this year, which I'm not surprised. But when you talk about like the earthquakes, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the volcanoes, and even over the last few years, there've been a lot of different like ice storms, or like really cold weather or snowy and ice weather in areas that's generally not even used to getting snow or getting cold weather like that. Is all of this like a correlation to, because what I've said on a few other shows is like, to me, I take this as Mother Earth going through her cleansing cycle. Just like a woman when she's on her menstrual cycle, I feel like Mother Earth is on her, planetary menstrual cycle, like where she's fishing out all of the, all the bad, toxins and parasites and, all the other bullshit, and bringing forth, a new egg, a new system, a new reality, a new access to, this fifth dimension and things of that nature. Is that how you see it as well? Or do you have a different view on that?
Yeah, because planet Earth sees frequencies just like how we're able to see frequencies. So if you're vibrating at the root chakra, you're a parasite. You're going to have a parasitical energy to where you're going to extract from the Earth. You're not going to harmonize with planet Earth. So those are the ones that's extracting energy from Earth and from the indigenous people. Those are the bloodsuckers, right? And those are the bloodsuckers who control the 85%. The 85% are the ones who are the deaf, dumb, and blind. And then you got the 1%, the 5% who are the ones that's trying to revitalize everything. So that's what's taking place when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's deep. And shout out to Chief Fox Owl. You know what? And the one that I saw, I don't remember seeing a lot of females, but in my vision or in that experience, but it was mostly men, but I wasn't able to see everybody in the room based upon where I was standing during that visitation. So I can't say that there were not females. I can't say that I could clearly see or make out any. I saw mostly men, but the room was so big and so vast, like I couldn't see everybody in there, especially like their faces too. So just to kind of share that experience with your Chief Fox Owl, but it definitely was a dope experience. It was amazing. I was honored just to be able to get a glimpse of it, to be honest with you. So it was something extremely powerful that I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in my real, and in the physical reality with my eyes, my two physical eyes, but it was powerful.
They also got that the black one. It was a white guy. He said that the great majority of the mermaids, they're actually black women. He said they look just like black women, up to about tall mermaids.
I'm not surprised because that episode was dope too. The one you did when you was talking about the mermaids and how that dude, I forgot his name, the one that was orchestrating that organization that was going out there hunting them and all that foolishness. But that was a dope show because there was a lot of stuff. I knew about a little bit of that, but not nowhere near as deep as you went into it. I have never done that much research on, the mermaids and mermen, especially to the fact where you had the receipts showing people talking about how real this is and what they're doing, which is barbaric and sinister and sick. And that's why they're dealing with some of the stuff they're dealing with now by, like attacking these sacred beings, because even like the dolphins and the whales and, they're all connected, to that higher frequency, to that higher, vibrational frequency in those fifth dimension type of civilization. So it's like when you start attacking, those beings who are pretty much guardians to the planet, you're going to deal with some consequences. You're going to deal with major consequences. You know what I mean? So that's crazy. Let me see. I got a couple more questions. Let me see. Kashida has one. She says, it would be great for BDEL to teach the young ones in ways they can understand. More of them are having experiences they can't necessarily go to their parents with. Yeah, it's a lot of that going on. But you know what? That's why we had these podcasts too, Kashida, because we definitely want to put the information out there for as many people who, want access to it or that can get access to it, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But do you have anything you would like to share with Kashida on that comment?
It's one of those things where I tell people, like, before you step into, information and knowledge and, try to alchemize it in a form of enlightenment, you got to do the work first. You got to do the healing first. So, because when you heal, that's when you dematerialize the blockages in the brain to where you're able to absorb the information and compartmentalize your downloads. So that's why I say, this is why we have a lot of, spiritual psychosis in the spiritual community, because a lot of people are not healing. So this is the process. You got to go through the trauma, you heal, then you tap into your authenticity, which leads you to your purpose. So it's one of those things where we got to heal first before we start, stepping into information. And you can only do that by, transmutation, alchemizing your situation. So the energy that you was putting in that was keeping you at a low vibrational state, this transmuted in doing some type of self-affirming practices, reading, working out. So that's what the youth has to understand, especially like young so-called black men. We have to learn to control our emotions, right? We have to have that vibration of stoicism. So much to the point where you have emotions, but you don't let it weaponize you. You don't let it control you. So much to the point where it don't look like you have emotions because you only using it for in an intelligent aspect of it. That's why I said that we must be sentimental, not emotional. The word mental is in there for a reason.
That's facts. Shout out to LeJohn McGoldrick for the super chat donation. We appreciate you, family. That's real. So real quick, I know we're running close on time. I want to get a couple of other comments addressed because I did see some. I was trying to get back to as many comments as I could throughout the week, but someone did ask me, I think it was yesterday, about the Stone Mountain event. Do you know if Brother Rich or whoever's like affiliated with putting on the program, if they've gotten like the flyers or anything to start promoting that yet? Because I did see somebody.
He's putting out a flyer week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so family, that whoever that was that asked, I did want to make sure I asked that for you, because I remember saying something to you in the comments. So we'll definitely, once Brother BDEL gets it, I'll definitely share it here too for those who are interested in coming to the Stone Mountain gathering, because I definitely feel like it's going to be some very, very powerful energy going on up there, man.
We need to try to get as much people there because there's a dark Luciferian energy in Atlanta. There's a lot of, European Luciferians, and they do a lot of sacrifices on Stone Mountain. They just found a body 8 a.m. yesterday on top of Stone Mountain. So that's yeah. So that's why I said it's imperative for our people right now to, utilize these energies that's coming in. The Schumann resonance is spiking up. That's not happening for a reason. So this is why I said we are basically the epitome of the black sun when we all come together. So when we come together, that's going to leave a certain energetic imprint in the ethers, and it's going to reverse the polarity of the negative frequencies that they was using to do these incantations at, places like, Stone Mountain. You know what I'm saying? Just us being there and having a certain frequency and consciousness, that's going to manipulate whatever type of algorithm that they have in that landmass. You get what I'm saying? So, we're not only fighting on the physical aspect, we're fighting on a spiritual level too. So that's what this is all about. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about like, we would like to have thousands, 5,000 people there. It's a free. So it's one of those things where, you got all these energies in. So we got to come together. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just something that's, minuscule as, going on a hike or some type of, excavation or whatever. This is the time to do it. It's the sun. We're in solar cycle 25.
Yeah.
Why you think, you know what I'm saying? Like you get so many black people in a room and start to heat up. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Because we're coming out of the summer solstice, you know what I'm saying, on June 21st. Then that next week is June 28th. So like I said, that energy is still going to be on the planet.
Yeah.
That's why, you know what I'm saying? Because this is why, during the time when we had the shutdown, why you think they wanted us to stand, 9, feet apart, 9 inches apart or whatever? They were trying to separate us because that's why they was naming the draconian juice right after sun frequencies. People were sick because of the draconian juice. They was getting sick because their genetics wasn't harmonized with the vibration of the sun. So it made them sick. And this is why they didn't want to be around each other. So the more that the sun intensifies and bring these neutrinos and these positive electrical frequencies to the planet, is going to cause another form of pestilence on the planet. Because, like I said, the frequency radiation doesn't harmonize with the G-force of the epidermis layer of the skin of the European. So, like I said, it's not, everybody got different forms of genetics, but it depends on what type of blood type you come from. That's why everybody's not the same, which denotes the fact that we got different blood types. So if you got different blood types, there's a different species. There's a supreme species and there's a lower species. And you can tell by the A and the B antigens of, of our DNA sequence or whatever. But like I said, it's good for us during this time period for us to come around and, and manipulate the ethers and alchemize. For, the law of attraction. You can attract just, what I'm saying, like us, congregating together, dialoguing, amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. We got another tribe member that said anything about England. Is there any like land masses or landmarks or, spots that's popping where things are kind of percolating and elevating over there in England?
Well, you're gonna have a lot of smart cities in England because that's where the beginning points of the fall of the corporation starts with, because the Federal Reserve System. And that's one of the 3 city states that controls the corporation. So that's why the Queen, the seal is off Buckingham Palace, right? And you just had the Pope. The Pope was the personification of the king. So when you're looking at, the chess piece of the king, it looks just like the hat of Dagon on certain chess, games that you play or whatever. It looks just like the sigil system of it. So when you have the fall in the king and the queen, that's the fall of the corporation. The game is really over. It's just up to us, to where when the planet goes through a state of metamorphosis, are we going to galvanize our resources in the form of reconstruction to build this shit right back up, to the matriarch like it's supposed to be?
And that's big facts, because without us having that balance, it's not going to happen. And that goes into something we can get into in another episode about how, how the strategic strategy to, dissipate and eliminate the familial structure, especially in our community. You know what I mean? Because that without that strong home foundation, it really does deteriorate a lot of the other aspects of who and what you are when you're faced, with the challenges of the world. That's a real thing. And that's why I'm so driven to do, community work, because I know for a fact a major root cause of a lot of the young brothers that's doing a lot of the, crime or doing things like selling drugs or shooting or whatever is because they don't have any positive male presence. You know what I mean? Like, they have a male presence, but they're seeing it on the block, or they're seeing it on TV, or they're seeing it in the music videos, or they're hearing it, you know what I'm saying, in the music. So it's like they don't have anybody to show them that you could be a real brother, but be positive and do positive work too. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where I'm driven to want to do that, because we got to be able to flip the narrative and like transform the paradigm within the mind. You know what I mean? Because that's how we really can start to make things happen when we see putting together familial structures and units. Like, I couldn't be more proud of the brothers that I know personally that are my age, from 44, 45 years of age down to your age and even younger, who are doing their thing as a father. Like, there's nothing that makes me more proud than to see all these brothers who are doing their thing as a father and in their children's lives, whether they're married to the woman or, they're together with the mother or not, they're still doing their thing and holding down their role as a father. And I couldn't be more proud than that, because a lot of people who grew up with 80s babies, 70s babies, 90s babies didn't have that. You know what I mean? So now we're also working on putting that back together as well. So I love it, man. I'm here for all of it.
Same. That's
Yes,
what it's
sir.
all about. It starts in the household. The man's the law, the woman is the order. And
Yes,
then the woman is out of order, the whole civilization is out of order. And when the whole civilization is out of order, the whole universe is out of order. And what put the woman out of order? Patriarchy, the moon, energy of the moon. That's what we call the sleep spell of King Goo. So when the woman get from under the sleep spell, that's when she's able to resurrect the black man, to where she's able to give orders to the man, and he's able to lay down the law. That's what's going to create the balance.
Yes, sir. That's facts. Shout out to Brother Dre Mills for the super chat, man. We appreciate you. He said Brother BDELL was Dr. Freeman's son. I don't understand that question. Are you familiar with what he might be?
Dr. Freeman, is he a Freemason?
I'm not sure. Brother Dre, if you could repost your text or your comments.
Is Dr. York a Freemason? I think that's what he is asking.
I'm not sure. Maybe. Well, if that is the question.
Lose a little bit. I'm just using it off that.
Yeah, and if you could shoot your comment, Brother Dre, before we log off, I'll bring it back to the forefront. I appreciate the donation too, family. But yeah, so real quick, because I know we're running close to the time, we got to wrap up. Do you want to? Okay, yeah, it was. Okay, so here it goes, bro. So yeah, he was saying it was Dr. York a Mason. We all are Masons. Look at your hand. You got him right there for a reason. 360 degrees of the physical, 360 degrees of the spiritual. You put them both together, that's 720 degrees of knowledge. 7 + 2 + 0 = 9. That's 9 ether. So like I said, all are Masons, but you're not a Freemason. It's kind of like the delineation process when you have a Ooish Persian and a Ooh. Like I said, just by who we are as indigenous people, because we are the ones who built this land. We are the ones that belong to the land. So it even tells you, I think it's in a Oriental Freemason book. It's an Oriental Masonic book. It tells you that the true Masons are the melanated people, the indigenous people. It's not the European. This is why Europeans, they under the higher Mabith, so this is why they got the sword on their fez, and it's tacked down with different you're not supposed to put symbols or whatever on your fez because it's a sign of deviancy. You're not supposed to fez. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt either, but it's funny. I always wondered about that. I wasn't quite sure why their fez looked different. You're talking about like the Shriners and all them, right? Yeah, because you notice, like I said, Harm Biff, they under the sword. The reason they under the sword because that's who the one that they took orders from. That's who was above them.